world.
All right, let's go to the calls. That's what we'll go to now. Bill in West Hartford, Connecticut. You're on the air, Bill. Go ahead.
Yes, hi, George. Hi, Joe Nickel. Hi. It's an honor and a pleasure to talk with you. I am a member of the...
You must be a relative. Bill, you must be a relative of mine to talk like that.
He's pretty darn close.
Pretty darn close. George knows what I'm going to say. Hold on. I'm an atheist myself and an amateur astronomer, and I'm a member of the Council for Secular Humanism and the Center for Inquiry, and I have the magazine Free Inquiry as well as the Skeptical Inquirer, the latest editions of both, right on my lap right now.
You're a prince.
Yes. Now, first let me say quickly, in answer to what George said about something versus nothing, and then I'll get to my question for you, Joe. Dr. Lawrence Krauss, physicist Lawrence Krauss, wrote a great book in 2013 called A Universe from Nothing. Why is there something instead of nothing? And his book boils down to, and I don't have time to go into this, just one sentence. His book boils down to the fact that something and nothing are different forms of the same thing, because our universe has positive and negative energy, and if you add those energies together, it comes to zero. So our universe is a sense of zero, just as nothing is a zero. But let me get to my question to you, Joe Nickel. I've heard many shows, especially on Coast to Coast AM, about near-death experiences, NDEs. Now, I'm an atheist. I don't believe that God exists or the devil or heaven or hell or any kind of, or the Bible or Quran, you name it, any religion at all. But I think there seems to be something going on. There's a phenomena going on. What I want to ask you is, A and B. A, could it be that the mind or consciousness, I would not say the soul word, S-O-U-L, that's another made-up word, just like God and devil and angels and so forth, but the mind or consciousness maybe could exist in what I would call an energy dimension or an energy universe, not the religious heaven or the religious hell. And B, the way we can find out if that's true, because I'm not saying that's true, I'm saying it could be true, if that's true, will be when or if and when modern science understands to a T what consciousness is. Because Dr. Leonard Malata now, who was on Coast to Coast AM about a year ago, who wrote a book called On the Unconscious, and he's a physicist, Dr. Leonard Malata now, said we don't have yet a full scientific theory of consciousness, and he related it to electromagnetism, electricity. In the early 1800s, they knew there was something electricity, but they did not have a theory until the late 1800s when James Clerk Maxwell, physicist James Clerk Maxwell, had his theory, equations of electricity and magnetism. So would it maybe take the same kind of thing to understand what consciousness really is, to then understand if it's possible that consciousness or the mind can exist separately from the brain or not?
Well, I think not. I think we are brain-centered beings, and everything that we know or think or feel is part of brain activity. As soon as you damage the brain, you realize, my mother, for example, had Alzheimer's. As soon as you damage the brain, you change pretty much everything. And the idea that consciousness could exist without the brain goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's like imagining, it's if you had that, you could have ghosts, of course, because the energy would just get out there and wouldn't need a brain. But as we know from The Wizard of Oz, you really need a brain. And the idea that somehow we have this energy that gets up out of our body and brainless walks around, walks, talks, and says boo, I think is absolute nonsense. And all the evidence that's intended to show us that that's the case is at best exceedingly doubtful, and violates the principle of Occam's razor, that the simplest explanation is that the brain does just what the brain seems to do, and that is that it helps us to remember things and to make thoughts and to have dreams, and near-death experience is a hallucination of the brain. Apparitional experiences and waking dreams also. And so I've seen all the talk about auras and other things that are supposed to give us proof of this life energy, and I just don't think it holds up, doesn't get to first base.
When you were a little boy, Joe, I bet you were inquisitive, as you are now, and probably had a very difficult time believing and accepting some of the things so many other people do, like God and things like that.
Well, I was religious as a boy. I mean, I certainly took everything very seriously, went to church. Actually, as a boy, I was Bible reader this was a Protestant church, and before the minister's sermon, I would go up and read from this big Bible. I would read the scripture that the sermon was based on. And I was not blighted by that. I know a lot of atheists who were blighted by religion, but I was not. I found that, in fact, many of my skills of being able to get up in front of an audience and project my voice, and I think the rich cadences of the King James Version Bible have influenced my writing.